Today on Dr. Nene Official, we have something very special. As you can see, we've got the whole gang coming together for one or maybe two episodes. And you'll see and you'll tell me what comes of that. But we wanted to welcome you guys back to the channel and see how was your Happy New Year?
It was good.
What'd you do? Anything fun?
Yeah, I met my friends.
Nice. Time. Nice. And how about you?
Yeah, about the same. Just met a lot of friends for New Year's. So.
How was your New Year's? What did you guys do?
You know, I slept early this year. It was a big year in 24, and I'm looking forward to 25, so I need to get my beauty rest. I need more of that than you, probably.
Fair enough, yeah.
And how about you guys? What did you do for your New Year?
I had a beauty rest. We were with you. That's the best. Yeah.
I think what we want to do with this episode is kind of bring together a lot of different themes and kind of see how our family matches with your family, because my guess is we can bring out a few things. So let's start with the boys. How is college life? I know I have a senior who's about to graduate and a sophomore who's going into the second semester. Aaron, tell us a little bit about how college life is.
It's good. We're kind of getting the wrapping up stages. So taking my last couple of major classes. I also added my music production minor finally, which has been very good. I've gotten a lot of great opportunities to work with great faculty. Taking more part also coming out of college in the clubs and other experiences where you get to meet new people. Yeah, it's good. I can't believe it's already over. Flew
nor
by.
can we. I mean, we're kind of amazed that the 4 years just flew by. And from where you started to where you came, the picture story is great, but the RN personal story is even greater. When did you feel like an adult during that? When did you go from boy to man?
I have my moments, but I mean, it's not something I always feel like. Maybe sometimes there's things I have to take care of that in my personal life, you know, things that are adult responsibilities. Other times I still feel like a kid. And the older I get, the more I realize that you kind of feel like a kid at whatever age you are.
And does it matter that now mom and dad and anyone else is telling you or not telling you what to do?
See, you think that, and then you come home, and no matter what age you are, the moment you're back with your parents, you'll feel like a kid again.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
No matter
Right?
what your age you are.
No matter what age.
Well said, my friend.
No matter what age you are, we still get told what
That's
to
what's
do,
up.
and no matter what age you
So
are,
get
we
used
still
to it. Get
what
used to it.
do.
It's part of being a family member.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Ryan?
I'm just about to head in the second semester of my second year, so it's been pretty good. Definitely flying by very fast, a lot faster than you know, school, like even primary or high school used to go. So, I mean, it's not surprising. That's like the kind of consensus from everyone. But it's just really busy, but I think, you know, I'm having fun doing busy work, so.
And have you kind of more found where you want to go, what you want to do, or is it still a puzzle?
A bit of a puzzle, but I think I'm starting to exact it now. So I think I had a decent idea kind of coming into college, at the very least knowing that like STEM was kind of the calling I'd found. But I think the exact field in terms of what problems I want to solve is still kind of a mystery to me. So, you know, just trying to do whatever I can to gain more exposure.
And what are your thoughts on this adult-child mix? When did you go from teenage?
I think I'm still a child. I don't think I ever became an adult.
Still mama's baby, is that it?
Yeah. No, but I mean, I don't know. I think you'll always like run into someone and you'll talk to them and meet them and you're just like, you'll just be left thinking like, wow, I really am just like a child still. Even people my age, I know, like are have taken on like a lot more responsibility, or have had to take on a lot more responsibility than I have. So in a lot of ways, I don't think I've necessarily yet become an adult. I think I'm kind of just getting there. So
I
we'll
think
see.
It's slow and steady, and one thing after the next, after the next. I would say you're cooking now. You're both living in your own apartments. How is that?
It's good.
So tell me what life is like out of the dorms into the apartments. Last time we spoke, I think one of you was in a dorm, the other one had gone to the apartment.
Yeah.
Now you're both in apartments.
Yeah.
And that too in a foreign city. I grew up there, and now you're
Exactly foreign. I mean,
Los
we've been to LA a
Angeles.
number of
Yeah,
times
Los
beforehand.
Angeles.
So.
yeah, but not on your own, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Even that
Are you
though,
living
it's not
on your
like,
own for the first time?
not really. I still have roommates, and it's like living with brothers.
Right.
You're in the same
That's
little
fair, yeah.
things that you would get from living.
And has it been good to have the two of you together?
Yeah, very
Yeah.
good. We see each other pretty often, I would say.
And I think we raised them together. They were in the same room despite having a big house.
Yeah.
and that made
For the
them
longest
very
time, you guys
close.
and you guys were generous with each other. Sometimes you got on each other's nerves, but
Yeah,
it's
but
part
the
of it.
usual stuff.
That's
I would say
pretty
we're
normal,
better.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're better than a lot of siblings. I would say
Right.
we
Right.
tend not to
Yeah.
fight that much,
And you guys
if at
work
all.
out together, you guys meet up, and
Yeah.
you go and meet your cousins a lot of times.
Yeah.
Because everybody's in California
Yep.
and in and around LA. So do you think having family around, like your grandparents around, does that
Yeah.
give you a sense of security?
Yeah, I think it's
so, yeah.
it's nice. You wouldn't feel like you're that far away from home, and it makes everything familiar. And I think it's a little less of that uncertainty of being in a new place because it doesn't feel that new.
So let me ask you something. Is there anything along the journey that you would have told your younger self to expect or to change?
Yeah, I would say for college, kind of put a wrench in everything. But each phase, each year means a lot. There's a lot of different things that happen socially. I think we are really kids when we come in, and we're still kind of kids when we come out. But we grow a lot as people over those couple of years. And I think we have these different phases of figuring out who we are, who we vibe with, who we kind of gel with, what we kind of love to do. And it's not something that stops. I think it's a lifelong journey. But I would tell myself to take priorities more seriously. I think prioritize these things, and it's not something that you want to slip by you. I think you don't realize just how important some of the things are, like your friends or the time that you spend with people, or the way that you not just prioritize academics, but prioritize, your friends, your family. Yeah.
I agree.
It's well said. And what do you think about the family values we instill? Because in spite of our background, right, you guys are very grounded. And I've heard this from many people, but most of all from me and Mom, that we never raised you with a spoon in your mouth, a silver spoon, or,
I'd argue at some point though, yeah, we grew up in a very different environment to a lot of the people I've met. Definitely we've had a much easier time than I would say the average person. So whether or not like we're grounded people, I think that's, I would never like say it myself. I would just hope that people would perceive me that way, or rather I end up behaving that way and people kind of, their opinions of me reflect that.
I think you guys were protected more
yeah.
than
Yeah,
other kids.
yeah, definitely.
You always were very careful about where you went, what you did, who you were with, but once you were on your own, things must have changed for you because you don't have that.
Yeah, but I think also in the US, it's very different. I mean, here it's not like a huge difference. I think regardless of where we go, what we do, I think me and Aaron are usually much less visible, I guess. It's not as if I think very rare. Most of the time, I think people just see me as some like random kid, just like
We
on
have
the
more
street.
freedom.
Yeah, a lot more
And
freedom.
I think going back to the grounded thing, I think it's really about just understanding the value of things, not taking things for granted, and knowing that maybe what you have is what comes from your privilege versus what, that kind of stuff, where you take what you value.
I think there's also like a certain criticality, I guess you could say. I don't think that's the correct word for it, but I guess the idea of just like scrutinizing the decisions or things that we see. I think oftentimes I'll run into people who I would say are not as grounded, and part of the reason for that I think is because they don't necessarily critically think about the actions they're taking. They kind of just do whatever, don't really think about like really what's going on. So in that sense, like if you really do evaluate like the things you do, I think in both larger scopes and even scopes on like the scale of yourself, then I think eventually it'll lead you to decisions that are more or less like better, more grounded, so to speak. So
It's very deep.
Wow.
For a young man, both you two have a huge amount of maturity. Now, let me ask you something. What do you think the future holds? That's a broad question, but I'm saying things are changing dramatically. And the real question is, we've talked about it before, you're about to graduate and start something interesting. And you still have a couple of years, so you're trying to work your way around, figure out where you want to try. But, so let's back up one step. When we talk about your being grounded, you're not entitled to the extent that you're respectful to everyone, you treat everyone as peers, and you never ever judge. right? That's my observation. Now, let me turn it over to the big kids, mom and dad.
Okay.
You've come back to India, but you spent some time with them in LA, which must have been a
In
treat.
Denver too. Yes. A lot
No,
of
but
time
I'm
there.
saying now with college,
Yeah.
having them in the same
Yeah.
city, how is
Yeah.
that?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I try for the day they call and I hear one word out of their mouth. My only request I always have is they call me
Keep
once
in
a
touch,
week
yeah.
just to say hello,
Yeah.
right? That's all I want. What's going on in your life? What you can tell me, share with me.
But is it nice to have them in the same city?
Both in the same town, nothing like it.
And the other cousins are not there.
Yeah.
Exactly. I have 5, 3 are out of town, and you are 2 right there.
And what have you noticed in them growing up? Because you've seen the journey both of you have.
He was so protective of Ryan. I mean, I cannot believe it. Right from the first, I was there for both the births. My brother, my
Yeah.
little brother, no matter where he went, you were protecting him.
And what about now?
Well, bro.
I haven't seen them that close now, together to see. Do you
No,
still
but I
protect
think
him?
even
I don't need to.
I think it goes both ways because they were very protective.
But he was
for
looking
each other.
towards him.
I remember when Aaron got pushed on on the football field.
Soccer
once.
field.
Yeah.
Because there was just 2.5. Remember that? And he
No,
just
they
stood
were
in front
not
of
okay.
that boy who had pushed you and said that you cannot treat my brother like that. You know who I am. You know who he is. He's my brother. So, it was amazing to see that.
Yeah,
So
I
I think
He
it's
was
it's
all
I'm
wonderful.
gonna be
Yeah,
honest.
you
I
know.
don't really remember that.
I've
Like
never
that's
known
You too young.
my brother.
I remember that day.
see that's the thing. Parents can say whatever they want about you when you're young, and you kind of just have to agree because you don't have many memories, so you can't really say.
It's like a baited question
Yeah.
there, right?
Yeah,
And I could make it up and you'd never
yeah.
know better.
I literally would never know.
I think one of the things that happened was initially when Arid came there to Los Angeles to USC, he used to come more often
Oh, yeah.
because he was adjusting to the
Adjusting to
environment
the
and all the
environment.
conditions.
I
And
was
it's pleasure always to see them. And
Every
he used to
Saturday
come
morning.
every week almost, which was
Every
good. Every
Saturday
weekend
morning. He didn't
he
care
was
if we
there.
had to pay for the-
As the days go by, as
with
the
it.
days went by, then he gets used to the
Friends.
environment. He develops friendships there, and we observed
And studies.
that affected, and then he's coming reduced.
I think there was a backstory there. He learned how to use the washing machines in the dorms.
Very good.
So he didn't need grandma to do his laundry. So,
In your dorm, remember you were like 8 rooms.
In the first year,
Yeah.
yeah.
At the end.
Oh no, we also,
that was
our
nuisance.
laundry machine was like messed up. It was
Totally,
pretty bad for the
every
longest time. It was like leaking, it tripped the fire
Yeah,
alarm.
yeah.
Wasn't good.
that was a tough year. I remember.
No, it was great. I
Yeah,
had such a
it
good
was
time.
great.
I love how you.
He had fun.
Big guy, no,
Whatever
it's not even
it
that
is.
But
deep.
this
happy
is
you
what
were.
I
It's
admire.
how
that
it
you
is,
Took
you
it
know.
with a grain of
But
salt.
recently, when Ryan came there, he also came first there.
For the washing
Not
machine.
Initially.
Not for the washing machine.
Not
just
for
came to
washing, he
visit.
changed from the dorm to the apartment.
Yeah.
But
And then he
good
had to
friends,
prepare
that was
all
the
the-
other thing. Remember, your partner was from San Diego,
Yeah,
and he would go back home,
yeah.
and you were there left alone. Whereas he has Sanai, right?
No, Ani.
Anai. Or
Just a
Ani.
roommate. Yeah,
Ani.
I have a roommate
So,
there. Yeah.
but you have a roommate that's there too. He doesn't go out every weekend to his parents.
No.
So that's why
Yeah.
you are comfortable.
So here's the next question with that. For you guys, now you're faced with a situation where you're on your own. And I've heard from both of you guys you want to do startups in India eventually, although you're taking a job at a high tech and trying to hone your skills and get better at them. And we don't know, because you love it there and you love building, and we'll see what happens with that. But the question is, how do you think your life changed when you went to the US? You guys, no family, no nuclear structure, right? You always had, nowadays, phones aplenty, FaceTime, video apps, all that. But distances are large, right? So how do you keep in touch with your family? And how do you put that as something which is core?
Well, I mean, I'm not usually the one to reach out. I will say I'm not that kind of person. I don't often reach out to too many people unless it's like some kind of occasion or something. Or if I really needed to ask something urgently. But yeah, whenever you guys call, I mean, phones are really a way of bridging the distance between people. So, yeah.
Yeah, earlier on, I would say we spent, right? I spent my last 2 years of high school in COVID, so I was locked at home with you guys, which was actually very good. But after that, it's like, you're a kid, you want your freedom, you want to be independent, whatever you think independence is. So then in that time, I wouldn't make as much of an effort. And I think not forgotten the value, but more so you are so excited for all the new things that you wrap yourself up in that. And now I find myself taking that effort, calling home, because I miss home. I miss home. And now that I'll be having my job, I know that my ability to come back home will be very limited. And so I really cherish the time that I get back here. The phones make it easy. Are on the opposite side of the planet. And the fact we can still talk to each other in real time is, it's...
Yeah, that is interesting.
If you really think about it, it's crazy. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it would have been, what, maybe a phone
You have
call.
the advantage of having your cousins, your grandparents.
No, yeah, family's all
in case
around.
there's something very urgent.
No,
and-
definitely. Yeah, we
I
can
never
usually
felt
just
so
visit
far away
people.
from family like that.
And what about you? We've had to raise 2 boys. You're like outnumbered in the home. Even Carmelo's a boy, right? How has that
Great show.
changed your perspective?
I'm surrounded by 4 men.
How does that change your perspective on how you do things? I mean, child raising is child raising, but boys have their own
They
set
say
of...
it takes a whole village to raise a child, and that's exactly what happened with both our kids. Because my parents used to live with us. My other parents used to always help us out. Whenever I needed any help, I was working here, they used to come, and they used to be with you guys for 4 months at a
Yeah, yeah.
stretch. So I know that the values that my mom and dad gave me, the values that they have given their kids, are the values that you're getting. And that is what made you who you are. Like,
And it was our pleasure.
all the love, all the
Thank you.
positive things that, you have to be grounded, you have to respect everyone, you have to work sincerely, whatever you do it to the best of your abilities. I think that's what you have taught your kids, my parents taught me, and I know that those are the values you've got.
And
So for me, when you are adults and you're out there in the world, I know that we have at least given you the tools that you will make the right choice,
Yep.
And I have that trust in both of you.
Yep.
And so for me, that was the biggest thing that I felt that we did right in raising both of you.
And so even for these guys, do you think you'll stay there? Or do you think at some point you may work out here?
In my life, I will be back here.
Okay. And how about you?
That's a good question. I still have some time before I graduate, so I still have to, like I said, I still have to figure out what really I'm gonna
It depends on what
hone in
you
on.
get to in your life. Which is better to work here or better to work there? If you're working same thing 2 places and you have a better life here,
And then you decide. Tell me something, and another Mark Twainism, where he said, it's amazing how little my dad knew when I went to college and how much he learned by the time I got back. I don't think the father changed. I think the son learned what was right and what was not right. And then coming back, he recognized it. But what are the learnings that you guys have had that you bring back to us that you've seen in a different world?
I think exposure. You meet a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds who want to do a lot of different things. And you get exposed to different ideologies, you get exposed to different ways of thinking. And it kind of helps you hone down what it is that you believe in and what it is that you believe truly matters. And I think it's there usually that a lot of people discover they're more traditional, or the values that they get from their family, that they become more certain of them, that they realize that that's who they are.
and
What would you
appreciate
say?
what you have.
Oh, I mean, of course,
And-
it goes without
And I would
saying.
say, don't be afraid of failure.
Yes.
That's a
Never,
big one
ever.
too.
And don't
Absolutely.
let that ever dictate
Love
what you
it.
want to do.
You fail, you move on, you do it again.
Yes.
Not fail, but you
Tell
just
me
do it
about
again.
failure.
It's a teaching point, huh? When you
Yeah.
fail,
Oh,
it's
totally.
a teaching point.
Yep.
It teaches you something about you, about how you're going to deal with it, because that's what makes you who you are.
Yeah, and handling failure with grace. I think coming back to what you were saying,
Right.
finding that thing, giving it your all, but also not being discouraged when you fail.
Right.
not being ready to give it up just because of one small obstacle in your way.
So I even wrote something on my social media profiles. I said, we need to rename it and we need to look at our successes and our learnings rather than calling it successes and failures.
Although sometimes failing does suck. It hurts.
Yeah, it
No
hurts.
question.
It hurts everyone.
It is a
No
learning.
question.
If
It is a
I'm
learning.
working a film and doesn't do well, of course it hurts.
Yeah.
But you can't wallow in that and you can't say, okay, that's the end of the world. You just gotta get up and say, I'm gonna do a better job the next
Does that mean I should be doing more failure to learn more?
That's not
Failure should
failure.
not be something you're doing.
That's
it's something
doing
that happens.
more learnings. That's doing more learnings.
Many people have said it. They've said that if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough, right? Because the bottom line is that failure comes when your systems are at their edge. And if you're not pushing that envelope hard enough, it ain't gonna happen, right? And so certainly in my realm with startups and with the family office and some of the other things I'm doing, but even in heart surgery, we had to push and to the limit, right? If I'm racing, to the limit, right?
Yeah.
And people are like 300 computations per second. Well, come on, our supercomputers do that like in milliseconds now. But the kind of
Not even
decision
they
points,
actually get measured
not even
in
that, right?
teraflops. So
100%.
But
Which is
basically, nobody's working
Millions.
to fail.
yeah,
Everybody's working to be successful. But life can throw curveballs at you. And how you manage to catch those and own it, is what life is all.
So rapid fire. Let's start from left to right. Any thoughts for the new year?
Looking for a prosperous and happy new year.
Okay.
Prosperous.
And what are the pearls of wisdom you learned from this talk, from this dialogue?
I think you get perspective. It's good to hear the different perspectives of different generations. It's nice to have all of us in the same place talking about these things. I think you add a little bit of structure and you touch upon things that you might not otherwise have come up, So that
What
was
if you
good.
had to say to the average immigrant family, what would you take from this one?
Appreciate how different your lives are. Appreciate the differences and what the people before you had to do, the things they had to do to get you to where you are.
Very nice. How about you, Ryan?
I mean, I don't think I can really add on to that idea. Those are pretty much all the same things I would say.
But you have a journey, and you saw their journey and my journey.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been interesting to see kind of how times, ideas, and just lifestyles have changed over time. I think it's very hard for me to say anything to like the average person because like very clearly I've lived a life that's not very average in like terms of where I come from, what I've like had access to, and kind of the luxury I've had of not having to take on like a lot of responsibilities. I mean, even coming to college, like laundry was something I still didn't really know necessarily how to do. So that's it's a little bit embarrassing. And I think like those kinds of self-care things are definitely something that is part of like, becoming an adult and transitioning into being your own. Yeah, but that's just like,
Did my episodes help on that, by the way? This is a plug for my episodes, obviously.
I mean, the thing is, I don't get the ingredients.
Because most
for-
Indian parents don't.
I just don't get the ingredients. I don't know where
But
you
even
find
eggs
sabudana
your way
khichdi.
and all of those.
Oh yeah, no, that helps. Definitely learning to cook with you, like even when we were younger, helps. Like eggs, especially, I think was probably one of the few things that I
So is
didn't
that
know how to
something
do.
you would encourage people to go watch?
Sure, yeah. Go watch cooking videos.
Yeah, sure.
Go,
I guess you could. I guess you could go
But
on.
No.
here I have to make this thing a little fun, and I have to tell a story about Ryan. We had this nanny we were looking for, and she was very pretty, red hair, very sweet girl. And she had just come home. We liked her, and we said okay. And she started, and she was a live-in.
Denver?
So Denver. She was live-in, and in the morning I just woke up and I heard these noises downstairs. And Ryan, you must have been around 3 years old. So when we stepped down, maybe 2.5 also, we stepped down, and Ryan was standing there with the nanny. He was teaching how to cook the eggs the way he likes them. So I said, now you crack the egg, now you put a little milk in it, and then you stir it, and then you put it on the, so yeah.
You
But
remember,
I
do you?
think the
He doesn't
things,
remember.
No,
But
absolutely
I think
not.
There is interest because you saw Dad and how he loves cooking, and I think that love.
Yeah.
you
So that
have.
was an impact which we saw too, that they would FaceTime us and show us
Or
what
when
they
Arun,
made.
when you cooked us a whole dinner that night.
Yeah.
When we were in LA, and
yeah.
remember that?
I do.
Yeah. So he started cooking at 9:30, we had dinner at 10:30 that night. A whole dinner, like
Yeah.
with salad and this and that.
And you guys are jet lagged, so you were asleep. You just woke up for the food and went back to sleep.
Yes. True.
But I would say that's one learning lesson for everyone, that whatever you do, whatever you find as a family, that you do together. Some people play sports, some people watch movies, some people have like fancy meals, some people have simple home cooked food. I think that's something that kind of bonded us. And so that, ladies and gentlemen, is the last thought. And would love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments below. And as always, like, subscribe, and share if you think we're giving you value and if we're creating something, because I would like to see what you guys do in your own homes. Look, we are, unusual in many regards. Ryan says it, everyone says it. But at the same time, we're very grounded and we're very simple. And I think these guys are certainly reflections of that. But I suspect all of the kids that I've met in our friends groups and in our families, and we had people over last night, all of them have turned out to be amazing. And I think they watch you growing up and what you do and how you behave as a parent and emulate that to some degree. And so everything you do, not what you necessarily teach, is what matters to them. And so beware, everything you're doing will come back to haunt you. They say grandkids are the grandparents' greatest revenge. Whatever the parents criticize their parents on doing, the grandkids will come back. But there you have it. Thanks for joining us as always, and we appreciate all of your kind words and everything you've given back to us on the channel. And let us know if we're hitting on the right topics, and we'll see you in the next one.